but we found finally, after a lot of struggles, a kind of arrangement with the agency.
As a new student in Eindhoven, finding a house is a real adventure, since there are quite limited rental propositions. To search for accommodation, the most obvious option is to go to the agency directly or to scroll on social networks such as Facebook. The latter is the one mostly used by students, since it is a platform which enables quicker and easier contact between the different stakeholders, students to students, students to owners. It is necessary to expand the possibilities because of the high number of students on the platform. It turns out many answers to the housing requests are negative. The most recurrent reasons for that are the not student-friendly approach from the agency and owners, gender and nationality discrimination, Dutch only, female, male only. In response to this situation, students create protest groups on social networks, as well as they do strikes to request from the city proper and affordable housing. From local to global, how does the study case of Eindhoven's housing crisis highlight a more general student precariousness throughout several countries? First, on a local scale, let us focus on the history of housing in Eindhoven. With the development of Philips industry in the late 19th century, the city attracted many workers and thus expanded quickly. New neighborhoods were constructed. In the 1990s, the Dutch company ASML's renown brought many international people to settle in Eindhoven. Because of regulations concerning the construction and organization of student houses within the city, it made it very difficult for students to find housing. We met several students to hear their stories in the context of this global struggle.
Academy, so I arrived in Eindhoven from Paris in 2018. When I arrived, I was in the student hotel for the first year because it was like super easy option, but it was really small space and expensive for what it was.
The student hotel in the center of Eindhoven offers a 6-month student accommodation. It appears expensive for a student budget and for the size of the proposed rooms.
So when I came back in second year, I had to go to the hotel. So I stayed in a hotel in the center of Eindhoven for 2 weeks, I think. It was super shit with all my boxes and still looking for a new house. And I found another agency. She found me this place right here. But I have 47 meters square and I'm 1 minute away from the school. So this place is quite expensive. It's 850, but my parents helped me to pay. I don't have any else because in Netherlands you need to be 23 to have them, so I can't have them yet. I know that it's expensive, but when I came, all the furniture were already here, almost. My contract is like limited. I don't have an ending for it.
So this is the apartment. So we got it with house hunting Eindhoven agency, and we had some problems with the agency. So this is a replacement apartment, and we pay it really cheap, and it has to be renovated, as you can see. So there is some damages in the apartment. It's not that new. You can see, for example, here the ground. We put the carpet, but it's like the tiles have been removed. The red carpet, we added it. There is also not much electricity. Here is the living room. The lights here, for example, are not attached, so there is some a bit dangerous conditions, let's say. But it's also a really nice apartment for us because like we are three boys that likes to really do stuff, and in this apartment we have the possibility to be not that careful, let's say. So yeah, this apartment we are not supposed to keep it too long because the landlord want to renovate it. So the agency put a lot of pressure on us to find another house, but it's also really difficult for us because now we are like studying again, and we don't have that much time.
Combining search for housing and studies is very difficult. To help the students, some institutions such as Fontes and the TUE initiated a housing program for temporary stays and have certain agreements with agencies and landlords to book rooms. Other schools, such as the Design Academy, do not have any of these programs.
But we found finally, after a lot of struggles, a kind of arrangement with the agency. So the agency is helping us in looking for new houses. So hopefully soon we will find another house.
What about the charges if they are not included in the rent price? How is it going?
Yeah, it's a mess, and this is why being a student, it's nice when you go inside of a student house. Normally you don't pay expenses, you just think of the rent, everything is included. But then when you get a bigger house, you have to think of the charges, and not only you have to think about everything you use. So it's the more you use, the more you are going to spend. And to find a company for the house was really hard because you have to make like a match of 3 different things, which is internet, gas and electricity and water. And it's very, very expensive. And we also need to pay tax for the city hall for the house. So it's basically like we were an actual family living in this house and having to pay everything to the city. And the charges, water is a fixed price, but to find gas and electricity, there are so many companies. And the fact is that at the beginning, when you start the contract, you have to say how much you think you will spend. And if at the end of the year you used more than that, you have to pay more. If you used less, they're gonna pay you back. But I read a lot and nobody gets money back from this. But still, I think for students, it's hard because you have to think of a lot of things every month.
Yeah, this is so Flapjapta is also the. Yeah, so this house used to belong to like the.
Marechaussee?
Yeah,
So
Marechaussee, so
Yeah, horsemen, police. So there were stables over there.
and yeah, and then in like 1981, I think it was like repurposed to like social housing, and then it's been for a very long time like full of Design Academy students.
How much are you paying, all of you?
Something like 350ish.
Yeah,
I
So I
paid
pay-
270.
I pay 260, I think, but my room is 290, so I should pay Victoria some money. And then we have 68 euros bills each. But that saves up. We get some extra money for improvements.
And do you
that's
have a
all.
contract or something, or is it like, yeah?
Yeah, but they're all individual contracts for the rooms. So actually, all of this is a communal space. Yeah.
And when someone need to take over a room, does this person need to fit with the others, or is just the person who leaves who choose the one who is taking over?
No, we like the person who leaves can recommend people, but we choose.
So they have like an interview with all the roommates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, generally, all
Sometimes it's been also that someone is like, oh, I know this person, and like it's actually a cool person, and then
and it turned out pretty good actually. I think the house also has influence on people.
Yeah, we usually what we do when we get a new roommate is like we tell more about this house and we show people this house and based on their reaction. Basically after showing this and like telling people that like you understand that there's a lot of noise, you know, till late and we stay up and it's like messy and blah 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 blah. And if they still like are excited about living here, then we know that okay, maybe you can make it.
Let us now zoom out and see how the housing crisis manifests elsewhere. Eindhoven isn't an isolated case. Student housing crisis affects cities across the Netherlands. Groningen, a university city, is another example. Indeed, many students are not satisfied with the accommodation, and some even consider returning home, according to UK Rand, a student media. At a European level, and even across the Atlantic, we encounter the same problems, not to mention that the issues of finding housing for students with disabilities is almost totally ignored. The COVID-19 measures don't ease the issue, slowing down the construction of housings, stopping housing attributions, etc. In the worst cases, and they are not exceptions, students find themselves literally homeless. They are sometimes given a temporary emergency room by the university. It can be a tent, a boat, or couch surfing even, until they find a steady place, and if they do not, they either leave or camp in cars, vans, and tents for several months, years. Several organizations initiated projects to tackle these crucial issues. For example, Erasmus developed House Erasmus, a research program led throughout several European cities, which then enabled to identify the challenges and bring adequate solutions, such as promoting public support for student housing, proposing a centralized service provider. In France, for example, C'est Nous is a platform that encourages the sharing of ideas and better infrastructures, amongst which social housing. The website shows the different options for student housing and possibilities of financial aid. Yet, despite such services, the French bureaucratic approach often becomes overwhelming, time-consuming, and not always resulting. Other solutions to face the student housing crisis is the intergenerational living. It is a housing model comprising of younger and older residents, and is a solution that could tackle two of the West's most urgent problems: a young generation priced out of affordable housing and the loneliness and isolation of a rapidly aging population. A third solution to this crisis is the Student Housing Corporation, here the Edinburgh Student Housing Cooperative. It is a non-profit, communal and self-governing housing system made by and for students. Not only does this model provide low housing costs, but it also offers an educational and inclusive community environment for the members. The student housing crisis is a reality of a large scale and reveals a crisis in the housing system itself. The COVID-19 comes as an added challenge in the sense that it has a major impact on mobility of people, students included, and resources. In the case of students, the demand for student housing might change. Either the demand concerns individual apartments, rooms, or return to living in a group situation, but with new social measures. It is crucial to rethink the housing system and in a close collaborative process between the different stakeholders.
Say hi to Kafka.
Hi, Kafka.
Keeping bad vibes away.